In recent years, Taiwan has emerged as a central focus in global discussions on democracy, security, and economic strategy. Positioned at the nexus of strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific region, Taiwan's experience offers vital insights into the resilience of democratic governance under pressure, the challenges of asymmetric security threats, and the complexities of navigating global supply chains, particularly in the semiconductor sector, where it plays an outsized role. Taiwan's story has become not only a regional concern, but also a global one. Its ability to maintain vibrant democratic institutions, sustain economic dynamism, and engage constructively with international partners, despite intense geopolitical pressures, makes it a compelling case study for policymakers, scholars, and citizens alike. It is against this backdrop that I would like to welcome our esteemed friends and colleagues from Taiwan this evening for a panel entitled Frontline Lessons from Taiwan: Democracy, Security, and Economic Strategy. I'd like to introduce the panelists. Dr. Ye Chung Liu is Vice Dean of the College of International Affairs at National Cheng Chi University and Vice President of the Taiwan Foundation for Democracy in Taipei. He's also an advisor to the Research Institute for Democracy, Society, and Emerging Technology. His experience includes participation in the U.S. Department of State's International Visitor Leadership Program and visiting scholar positions at the Henry Stimson Center and the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, both in Washington, D.C. He also served as president of the Association of International Relations for Taiwan from 2021 to 2023. His academic expertise centers on U.S.-China relations, American foreign policy, and Chinese foreign policy. He holds a PhD in political science from George Washington University in the U.S. and a BA and MA degrees in diplomacy from National Cheng Chi University in Taipei. Dr. Charles Chong-Han Wu is professor and chair of the Department of Diplomacy at National Cheng Chi University in Taiwan. He has been appointed as a member of the International Affairs Commission of the Taipei City Government in 2023. He also serves as visiting fellow with the East Asian Program at the Stimson Center. Charles holds a PhD from the University of South Carolina in political science, an MA from New York University, and a BA in diplomacy from National Cheng Chi University. His research focuses on studies of international conflicts, territorial disputes, Chinese foreign aid, and the Sino-US relations, with a specific focus on secondary states foreign policy in East Asia. He's widely published. His current book project with Routledge explains the key defining attributes and description of hedging as a strategy that is distinguishable from pure balancing and bandwagoning. And lastly, Dr. Ping-Hui Chen is a professor at the Department of Diplomacy at National Cheng Chi University in Taipei. He currently serves as the executive director of the In-Service Master's Program on Strategy and International Affairs. He directs a Center for India Studies in the College of International Relations at National Cheng Chi University. He received his PhD from the Department of Government and Politics at the University of Maryland. His research interests include conflict studies, security alliance, deterrence, and coercive bargaining. He also develops an interest in the governance of fintech issues. In addition to his expertise on U.S.-Taiwan relations, he has done some recent research work in South Asia affairs. Welcome to the panelists this evening. I'd like to start by giving a question to Ping-Hui, and that is, how would you summarize Taiwan's journey to date for the audience that we have with us? Just give them some background based on the academic lens that you bring to this question.
Thank you, Dr. Piscaro. And I would like to thanks for the invitation for this panel. And I would like to apologize. I'm on my way to Department of Defense. I'm bringing a group of students to visit the Department of Defense today. So I'm a boss, and the environment might be a little bit noisy. So to briefly summarize the journey of Taiwan to date, we can look at how Taiwan became an economic giant. If not giant, it is very well developed economy, right? So I have to say that the key point of Taiwan's journey is peace and security for the past 75 years. So it is during that period of peace and security that Taiwanese people can freely develop an economy. It is also the Taiwan's opportunity to ride down the rise of China in the 80s, where Taiwanese businessmen went to mainland China and invest in it not only growed not only helped China's economic growth, but it also helped Taiwan's economic growth. Now, Taiwanese government has played a very important role directing the economic development for the past 30 years. And this has been an important keystone for Taiwanese economic experience. So the advanced semiconductor industry we have seen right now is actually a result of a government policy that subsidize and encourage private investments so industry can thrive. I will also have to point out that although a lot of people would argue that Taiwan is a tech giant, it is in some way. Taiwan's advantage, or Taiwan's you can say strength, is in the manufacturing of those tech stuffs. So so that means Taiwan's business is very good at doing cost down. Taiwan's business is very good at knowing how to produce efficiently. This applies to a semiconductor industry as well. So on the other hand, we see a thriving democracy in Taiwan for the past 30 years, right? So I think we should look at economic development and political development together. It is because of the peace and stability in Taiwan Strait that makes economic growth, and with economic growth, that people can start to pay attention to civil liberty, political freedom, political participation, and all those sort of agenda. So the democratization of Taiwan is not only a product of post-Cold War political environment, but it is also a stage of development that Taiwan has experienced after years of rapid economic growth, and that environment stimulates people's willingness to improve political participation. So to quickly summarize Taiwan's experience, I think Taiwan's experience is pretty special. It is very difficult to copy Taiwan's experience because there were very few places where conflict has been so imminent, but peace has been so enduring over the years. And there are very few places in Taiwan, in the world where, like Taiwan, the Taiwanese business can go out and invest in mainland China and bring that economic benefit back to Taiwan. So that's why I think the economic experience of development experience of Taiwan is very difficult to replicate in places like South Asia or Africa or Middle East. I can say that this is Taiwan's strength, but to back to the main point here, if the peace and security of Taiwan Strait is being sabotaged, then this rapid economic growth or static economic growth and political freedom and the political participation of a full-grown democracy, that will be a problem. That will shake the foundation of the political structure and economic foundation of Taiwan. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know you're not going to be with us for long, so let me push another question on you while we still have you. Taiwan is often described as being on the front lines, and you've given a lot of context already that sits behind that description. But the front lines of both geopolitical tension and technological innovation. How do you see these two dynamics reinforcing or potentially undermining each other?
So as I said, Taiwan was able to grow economically because there was very stable cross-strait relations for many years. And if we look at how Taiwan can maintain that peace and security, we can see the important role of the United States. Right? The United States provided extended deterrence for many years, and that keeps the peace and security in Taiwan Strait. And I will argue that this deterrence power still remains, but over the past few years, people are getting more and more, let's say, nervous about the situation, and there are more and more discussions, either in policy world or academic world, about the potential conflict in Taiwan. I think this really breaks away from years of stability in Taiwan Strait, right? So it would look at 8 years ago or 10 years ago. Although people were worried, concerned, very few people will actually think about PLA invasion to Taiwan. But nowadays, people are talking about it. So I think um, this worry for conflict is really a uh, negative has a negative impact on economic development. Um, if you look at Taiwan's success in economic area, either in tech industry or other manufacturing industries, you can see that economy only thrives when companies feel like their investment can be protected. And now, as the geopolitical risk increases, I think that confidence is eroding. So I would say we are in a changing period where the scenario that you described, where the Taiwan can develop economically, but situate in a geopolitical tension, this stability is shaking right now. And can the U.S. or U.S. allies maintain this stability? I think there are different assessment. If you ask me, I would say so far I'm still a little bit optimistic about the stability in Taiwan Strait. However, 5 years later, 10 years later, it's hard to tell because it depends on what the U.S. will do right now and what the U.S. allies will do in the distant future, like 5 years later. So, um, so overall, I would say Taiwan is in a very precarious situation, and the government knows it very well. So, um, the Taiwanese government um, and military are very concerned about Taiwan's situation nowadays and trying to do something to overturn the situation and return to peace and stability for the past 75 years. And we can discuss how much these efforts will pay out. We have, I think each experts have their observation. My immediate conclusion will be, although Taiwan is still in this sitting in this geostrategic rift, and it is an island that those great powers try to take over, right? But um, we have to understand and we have to remember that Taiwan has its own agency and Taiwan can change the situation. What Taiwan do really matters in this geopolitical tensions. And so the choices of Taiwanese government in this will be very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know you're probably going to have to drop off soon, but that was an incredibly insightful way to open up the discussion. Ye Chung, I want to come to you now and ask you, in a world where democracy is under such pressure, Taiwan is frequently cited as a case for democratic resilience. So what specific political or institutional features do you believe contribute most to that resilience?
Mhm. Yes, if we look back to the way Taiwan transited itself into a full-fledged democracy, there are some marked years that we can bear in mind. Firstly, Taiwan lifted its martial law in late 1980s, and then we had our very first national level election for the representatives in our own Congress. Back then, we have two houses, and that was in early 1990s. And that election actually marked the beginning of the transition to democracy in Taiwan. And then we had our very first direct presidential election in 96. And then after that, we can see more and more people in Taiwan consider ourselves as a country, if not a country, at least a political entity, independent and being autonomous from PRC. And then in the year 2008, we also have some reform in our Congress. Before that, actually, we cancel one of the two houses. So we only have one, we call it Legislative Yuan. But back then, we have too many seats in the Legislative Yuan. That was 225 before 2008. And then we had a reform in 2008 to cut the number into 113. So that's what we had right now. If we look at institution wise, I would say we had a very good check and balance system in our own political system. In the sense that we have, it's because in Taiwan, we are a semi-presidential system, which means president enjoys very much of the power, political power. But in the meantime, the president, he or she, also needs to respond to the calls from our legislative yuan, which is our Congress. And we had our premier. That position used to be directly responsible for the LY, but then we had certain kind of institutional reform. So right now, our premier is more like the chief executive officer to our president. So we had this kind of check and balance system. And then we also have a very independent judicial system in Taiwan. If my assessment would be Taiwan can be so successful as a full-fledged democracy, that is because we have a very strong and loyal opposition throughout the whole period of time. By strong and loyal opposition, no matter is the DPP right now the ruling party or the KMT right now the opposition, I do hope that they can work together in some ways so that we can move our political agenda forward. Yeah, that's my own assessment. And by the way, right now Taiwan is scored 94 according to the Freedom House report last year.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. I want to stay with this line of argument and look at what has become conceptualized as a whole of society defense and what lessons other countries around the world can learn at the moment about developing that whole of society resilience, aligning national security with things like civic preparedness and public trust. So can you keep elaborating on those issues?
Yes, I think I would like to highlight on public trust. Excuse me, that issue, because as you can see, we are facing the pressure from the other side across the Taiwan Strait, the PRC. Public trust is so important to Taiwan because as we know, for democracy to work, we need to have the government need to be responsible and very responsive to the general public. And in the meantime, we need to have a very healthy and strong civil society that can channel the needs from different parts of the society into the government, into the decision-making process, so that everybody can be at least satisfied with the current status quo. So for that, public trust actually play a very significant role along the way, making Taiwan as a full-fledged mature democracy. However, in recent years, as we can see, there is a strong political campaign from the other side across the Taiwan Strait, in the sense that they are using, we call it United Front. It's actually the PRC's work, trying to describe how to garner all the supports from different dimensions around the world and also within the society to achieve its own goal. So for the Chinese side, they are waging this kind of campaign against Taiwan all the time. So that is very, very important for our general public to better understand this kind of tactics and strategies and what kind of tools and means they are using. So to further nurture our public support to the government, I think one thing we learned from our own experiences is we need to help the general public discern what is the disinformation, what is the truth. I think Taiwan actually in the past few years did a fairly good job on this. And for example, there are so many NGOs in Taiwan trying to help the general public to do this kind of fact-checking in the real time. So this is helpful because, as we know, rumors actually provide certain kind of soil for distrust around the society. So I think that is very, very important. Second thing is, I think we have a relatively good feedback system to the government. So not only the civil society play a significant role, but our own government is also trying to understand what the people are thinking right now. And they are trying to integrate those kind of needs into their decision-making process to produce quality policies. I think this is very, very important. And of course, check and balance, that also play a very significant role. So as you can see in our Congress, many people in Taiwan right now would say they are not doing the correct things. But to me, I would say this is quite normal to full-fledged democracies because we need this kind of debates all the time. We need this kind of check and balance to make public trust work. And also, if we are talking about the preparation in material terms, how to make our own general public not only feel and can understand the threat, pressure from the Chinese side, but one thing is also very important. Taiwan, we are an island, so we face a lot of natural disasters. So for preparedness, it is not only against China's possible invasion in the future, but it is in Taiwan's good because we need to prepare ourselves all the time. And for that, as we can see, our own central government and local governments, they are making a lot of plans for the general public. And but one thing is, I think coordination is always needed, throughout the whole process. So for that, I do hope that our own government in the central level or the local level can work closely together, help people to face those kind of challenges.
Thank you very much. Charles, would you like to jump in on that point about building a resilient society? Ye Chung gave us quite a comprehensive answer, and he may have covered everything, but we're very interested in checks and balances, living in a democracy like we are here in Canada, seeing different shifts going on in different parts of the world. Anything you would add to the Taiwanese experience in building a resilient society?
I think Yezhong mentioned it's a sufficient and I think enough information about the resilient society. One thing I think because we produce about 92% of the chips in the world for the world, and suddenly Taiwan become a focal point in the international security. But like I say, we're still facing a continuous threats from China, and the governments and the internet, the society try to educate people how to do more to maintain our civilians or kind of resistance or resilience to defend the country. Right now, there are several projects means like talking about how to deterring the potential threats, how to equip ourselves no matter in national level or city level. The government teach the people the rescue skills, the shelters, the alarm systems, where you can find the shelters if there is a kind of missile attacks. They're going to more kind of down to the earth basic teaching and education on the civilian resilience. I think this is quite important, very important for the upcoming conflicts in the future.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's jump into the semiconductor area because that's of huge interest to many countries around the world and the success that Taiwan has enjoyed in this sector. And its economy has demonstrated remarkable agility in semiconductors, but also in global supply chains. So what, in your view, and I'm happy for you both to chip in on this question because it's an important one, what, in your view, are the internal vulnerabilities or bottlenecks which may threaten this advantage over the next few years, next decade, I should say?
Like I say, semiconductor industry is quite important for Taiwan, and we are famous for the fabs, the chips. However, Taiwan still facing some we call bottleneck or vulnerabilities. First thing, for example, we face a severe shortage of skilled chip makers, and this will probably threaten our long-term growth and technological leaderships. For example, annually we have about 35,000 unfilled semiconductor engineering positions, for example, in 2022, and only about 12,000 graduate students in related fields produced. So this gap is exacerbated by an aging population problems in Taiwan. We are short of babies. I don't know how the government will handle these issues because we got higher and higher real estates and also the living expenses. We also have inadequate STEM education pipelines threatening our innovation capacity as global competitors invest heavily in workforce developments. So I think the first thing is about human labor. We still need a lot of people to fill in these semiconductor industries. Second thing is about the energy issues. Energy security present another bottleneck for Taiwan in the semiconductor industries. I think this is kind of well-known questions and puzzles. Because Taiwan, we are about 97% dependence on imported fuels. We are short of enough fuels produced by ourselves. And we also have recurrent power outage, which will impact our manufacturings. For example, probably everybody knows our national security issues because we have limited natural gas shortage. Natural gas storage about 7 to 10 days. So which means once we are blockaded by PLA, we probably need to stand about 7 to 10 days, and we are run out of gases. So this will create another complicating crisis issues too. The third bottlenecks or problems we are facing probably is kind of our economy's over-reliance on semiconductors. For sure, we are famous for the producing chips. However, our country's problem is we are over-reliant on the semiconductors, which account about 40% of our total export. This will create some systematic risk. While TSMC, they kind of dominate advanced chip manufacturing, we need more diversifications abroad. And also we need technological innovations. Potentially, we need to think about how to promote, for example, you mean AI or higher technology industry in the future. This is kind of overall pictures for our Taiwanese bottleneck right now we are facing. However, I think we still have a very healthy economic and technological structures so far.
Thanks very much. Ping Kuei, you're still with us. I don't know if you want to chip in on this issue of semiconductors.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll make one more point and I have to get offline because we just reached the Department of Defense. So I would like to point out that semiconductor industry, they performs very well. And I said it is because Taiwan's business is very good at cost down, right? So that means semiconductor workers, engineers, they have long hours of working. They barely have time for family and private times. And this has been very common in the industry. And this is actually, from my point of view, a serious social problem for Taiwan. And it is one of the important causes of our low birth rate. And we have one of the lowest birth rate in the world because our parents cannot have good working environments that help them to nourish children. And we don't have good working environment that makes people want to build family. That is an internal social problem of Taiwan. And it is a severe one. And the government, although the government trying to use a lot of different policy to encourage people to get family, to give birth to a child, it doesn't really solve this problem. Another problem about energy is that not only we rely on the import of fuel, Taiwanese government has invested heavily in the wind energy industry. So we have a lot of wind farms. For the past 5 years, we have started to build a lot of wind farms. But to be honest, the achievement was not impressive. The amount of stable electricity these wind farms can provide is very, very limited. That's why the whole energy grid still rely on oil and natural gas. And the Taiwan has difficulty to build more LNG harbors, ports to receive LNG because of local environmental protest. So in the long run, you can imagine there is no way that Taiwan can shift from relying on coal and oil to cleaner energy or alternative energy. That's a big problem for Taiwan's industrial development, because we know that tech industry require high level of electricity and water. Okay. Sorry, I have to go offline. Thank you very
No,
much.
but it was a great way to finish, because it's those basic factors, those enabling factors that we sometimes forget about as we talk about emerging transformative technologies. So thank you for being with us. Any last recommendation for the policy world before you sign off?
I think the policy world should, of course, that we always focus on what the U.S. do in the triangle relationship in China, Taiwan, U.S. But I will always ask them to take a look at what Taiwanese government could potentially do. And the interaction between Washington and Taipei is actually more important interaction between Beijing and Washington. That's the final thing I want to ask.
Thank you so much, and have a great trip, and thanks for being with us. I'm going to continue on with Charles and Ye Chung, but We'll see you soon. Ye Chung, I want to come to you on the issue of semiconductors. Any other contributions you might have to that argument?
Yes, I think I can only add one more footnote to what my colleagues just mentioned. That is about because for the semiconductor industry, to have a very healthy ecosystem surrounding this TSMC, that is quite important. So you need to not only have the upstream, but also the downstream manufacturing industries. That is very, very important. So if I would like to add one thing, I would encourage and welcome any suggestions from policy circles to how to help Taiwan and also the rest of the world to any country who wants to have this kind of manufacturing advanced chips in their own countries can have this healthy ecosystem building together. So building and dwelling, that is very, very important. Thank you.
Well, that almost that folds into my next question, because I was going to ask you both, how is Taiwan managing that economic balancing act between reliance on China for trade and the strategic need to diversify its markets and partners? Peng Kui talked about wind farms that have been met with questionable success. What are some of the other areas and other partners that diversification is heading in the direction of?
Yes, I think to me, I would say for many problems Taiwan is facing right now, we need one thing that is quite essential to us. That is the time. We need more time. We need more time to diversify our markets, to make less investment in China. We need to have alternative places around the world. And also, in terms of energy security, we also need some time to find the alternatives. So, for example, because about 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, Taiwan actually ceased to our own nuclear power plants already ceased to function. So for that, that is a big challenge to our energy security, especially for electricity-wise. So we need more time to find alternatives. I'm not saying that this is we are not in the right direction. I think we are in the correct direction, but we need more time to get well prepared. In terms of cross-strait relations, also we need more time. We need more time to prepare ourselves. We need more time to know, to understand, because China's intention invading Taiwan is so clear. It's over there. So we need more time to develop certain kind of consensus within ourselves and to get prepared materially. Yeah, so we need more time.
Okay, Charles, what do you think about that? Is if you get time, how can this time best be spent?
I think that for the past years, during DPP's administrations, Taiwan is trying to navigate, also diversify its economic dependence on Taiwan through multi-pronged strategy. For example, first thing is export share decline. China's portion of Taiwan's export dropped about 12.2% in the past 4 years, and driven by the global supply chain restrictions, and also Beijing's Made in China 2025 import substitution policies. I think Taiwan, we have kind of plans, try to put our eggs in different basket, move some industry from China to Southeast Asia. This also brings us to another story about our new southbound policy, because launching in 2016, there are about 18 countries we try to put into this kind of strategic plans, including Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand. We try to export more goods to those Southeast Asian countries. The new southbound export surged about 35% from 2019 to 2021. It's also including some semiconductor products. And also, Taiwan, we try to join more regional integration mechanism. For example, first thing is like the government try to promote if we cannot join RCEP, how about CPTPP? So the government try to seek to entry into this regional integration mechanism and using more diplomatic ways with more negotiation with the related countries. The second about the regional integration mechanism is the U.S.-Taiwan FTA negotiations. During the Biden administrations, the DPP government have several ongoing talks and negotiations which aim to reduce reliance on Chinese markets, but also try to build more linkage, especially in trade with the United States. The third one I want to mention about how Taiwan diversified our linkage with China is we have more additional economic policy. For example, we try to promote the China Plus One approach because over 60% of Taiwanese firms now maintain operations in both China and also Southeast Asian countries. This survey is conducted by CSIS in 2023. Also, our semiconductor industry, for example, TSMC, try to build more fabs in the world. We know that they are building fabs in Arizona, United States, Kumamoto in Japan, and Dresden in Germany, which I think they also want to protect our silicon shield and try to hedge our silicon shield bids in the whole world. I think this is how we handle the issues about we are over rely on Chinese markets.
So tell us what role the state plays in the innovation ecosystem, particularly in supporting the high value manufacturing and technological self-sufficiency. What has the state done? Because what you've achieved over the years has been remarkable, and the state would have had to exert great leadership in that journey.
I think, if we look at the histories, the state or the government play a critical role to supporting our semiconductor industry. During the KMT's administrations, they try to using subsidies, using more technology support for to raise our semiconductor industries, especially TSMC. Nowadays, I think the government try to provide more kind of subsidized utilities for example, the tax cuts or the tax breaks, try to bring more beef for the semiconductor industries. Because we know that, like what I mentioned, we are short of power, we're short of human labor, we also short of enough lands for the semiconductor industry to build more fab in Taiwan. So the government need to do a lot of efforts, try to help the semiconductor industry to stay in Taiwan. This also included we call the 5+2 innovation industry policies. Launched in 2016, this initiative targets 7 sectors, for example, smart machinery, biotech, defense, circular economy, and new agriculture. We try to bring different sectors together to help our semiconductor industries all together stay in Taiwan. For example, we have a smart machinery corridor in central Taiwan in Taichung. This plan is try to build more factories on we call the machine tools. It's about 300 million US dollars. We try to build this kind of smart machinery corridor, help our traditional machine tool industry to grow in Taiwan. Second thing, we try to help our Hsinchu Science Park using more we call tax cuts and other policies to help semiconductor industries to grow. We support about 1,400 technology firms, including TSMC, with shared R&D facilities and also cross-company collaborations platforms in our Hsinchu park. I encourage if all the policymakers or faculties in Waterloo, if you have time, you must go to Hsinchu Science Park. You will see how magnificent semiconductor industries there, and they also help a lot of Taiwanese engineering, how how to help them to, for example, finding the children educations, good, real estate buying houses, all the engineering, they can find a good living environment in Hsinchu Science Park. This is, I think, our governments, they play a very key roles nowadays.
Thanks very much. I think I'll just, Ye Chung, would you want to pitch in on this question as well? Because, Charles touched on the issue of human capacity and developing human capacity. It's what so many countries are facing at the moment, that challenge. Some even rebuilding and retooling to fit this new innovation direction and to have all the policy tools and instruments necessary to fortify it. So what are your thoughts on this issue?
Yes, I think in the past few decades, Taiwan's government is actually putting a lot of resources and also efforts in helping our local enterprises to nurture. For example, I believe many of our audiences would have heard the term small and medium enterprises. That actually labeled Taiwan's a lot of industries. And this is quite important because this is not only, as Charles just mentioned, it is government more like ordered this kind of development. But also in comparison, if we take South Korea into our analysis, there were more tribals, big companies in South Korea, in the case of South Korea. But it is more SMEs in the case of Taiwan. So in other words, I would say there seems to be more flexibility in terms of nurturing their own development models. And our government is more like, okay, we help create the overall environment for them to nurture. And also our government actually in the 80s dictate to some degree that we should have our export oriented as our national guideline for business development. So they made a lot of policy adjustments to fit this goal. So as you can see, the value of Taiwan dollars, also Taiwan was listed as one of the manipulating currency countries around the world in 80s. Not now, but in the 80s. So as you can see, those are our government's tactics trying to make sure that these good things, prosperity, can happen to Taiwan. But in addition to those kind of maybe not so good practices, I think nowadays, especially after Taiwan's admission to the WTO in 2002, we began to make ourselves as a role model to many other developing countries. So in other words, we promote free market system. And in the meantime, we are trying to make sure that there are no longer unfair trading practices happened to Taiwan and also in our own conduct. I think this is good in the long run because after 20 some years, as we can see, Taiwan actually benefited a lot from our admission to WTO. And I believe the international trading system also benefited from Taiwan's contribution.
Yes, indeed. And we're now benefiting from its advocacy towards fair trading practices. And we need as many countries in that community advocating the same thing. So both of you, we're coming to the end of our questions now, but I would love to hear your thoughts on what you would recommend to the policy world at the moment. If you had a senior set of policymakers in a country like Canada, and knowing what's going on geopolitically, knowing what you've experienced, some real relative success stories, as well as challenges on the security and the economic front, what would you recommend to policymakers trying to take their countries into a policy orientation that's fit for purpose in this new world that we're living in, not just with democratic tensions and security challenges, but also situated in a data-driven and digitalized era.
Yes, if I may, I would like to echo what Bing Hui just mentioned in the very beginning of our discussion today. I think this is quite important to for the international community to help Taiwan make sure there is peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. I think that's the main task number one. But by saying that, I'm not suggesting Taiwan is the free rider to the equation. We will do our own part, and that is quite important for us to prepare ourselves, nurturing our own domestic consensus, and prepare ourselves for any possible things to happen. But in the meantime, I do hope that Canada, along with the rest of the international community, can help Taiwan sustain ourselves. By sustaining ourselves, I mean politically, maybe we need to garner more support. And security-wise, I would say, because in the past few months, we witnessed that Canada seems to be more willing um, to be involved in the security issue across the Taiwan Strait. I think this is a positive sign for Taiwan. But of course, we are not taking it for granted. But it is really important to help us to garner more support for our own government and also to nurture our own consensus. And economically, I think it is also quite important because we know that the trading practices are changing in the world right now very fastly. So I think it is also quite important for both Canada and Taiwan to make sure that free trade is still a value worthy our upholding. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And Charles, from you, what would you tell a group of senior policymakers today on any of those issues?
Yeah, thank you. I think Taiwan's semiconductor industry supremacy makes our as a linchpin in global supply chain. However, also make us a potential flashpoint. So any disruptions or potential attacks, conflicts in Taiwan will probably disrupt the global calculation capability. Some people mentioned that probably will disrupt about 50%. So I think it's very important for international society, especially for example, Canada. We do more kind of people-to-people exchanges or the policy papers, policy kind of discussions between the two countries, or even between the Zhengda National University and also University of Waterloo. Because when more people look in Taiwan, more people pay more attention to Taiwan, and then I think it can create a different kind of deterrence capabilities to prevent any kind of potential military attacks in Taiwan. I think this is very, very important because nowadays we know that our international status is quite kind of sensitive. And sometimes it's very hard for our people or students to go in abroad to attend international conferences or even join kind of we call IGO. So like what I say, what we can do right now is we're doing the basic people-to-people exchanges, academic exchanges like what we are doing right now. And we're using semiconductor or we call the chips as a very important topic and bring more attention from international society. I think this is a very important policy we can pay attention to right now.
Well, I think that's a great way to bring our discussion to a close. And my own wish that we have this discussion continued in person. We do bring colleagues like you, like Ye Chung, and like Ping Hui over to Canada and vice versa. I think keeping those conversations going, not just amongst faculty, but with students, graduate students and undergraduates, the leaders of the future, is very important. It's great to hear how Taiwan is building this societal resilience when there are so many different national security threat vectors these days impacting on our societies. It's great to learn about those security challenges and what you've done economically as well, the lessons learned, good practice, role of the state. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I know our listeners will too. So thank you so much, and I'll really look forward to our next collaborative engagement. And until then, please take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, Anne.
Well, I think that's a great way to bring our discussion to a close. And my own wish that we have this discussion continued in person. We do bring colleagues like you, like Ye Chung, and like Ping Hui over to Canada and vice versa. I think keeping those conversations going, not just amongst faculty, but with students, graduate students and undergraduates, the leaders of the future, is very important. It's great to hear how Taiwan is building this societal resilience when there are so many different national security threat vectors these days impacting on our societies. It's great to learn about those security challenges and what you've done economically as well, the lessons learned, good practice, role of the state. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I know our listeners will too. So thank you so much, and I'll really look forward to our next collaborative engagement. And until then, please take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.